The check is real, $4.2 million after taxes wired into an account that had $340 in it the week before. He quits his job the same day, tells everyone, buys the truck he'd been pricing for years. 5 years later, he's back working the same kind of job, the money gone, and the specific, well-documented pattern behind why this happens to a striking number of lottery winners has almost nothing to do with the number itself. The statistic is real and worse than most people assume. Multiple studies tracking lottery winners over time have found that a significant share, estimates commonly cited range from roughly a third to as high as 70% depending on the study and definition of broke, end up with financial situations comparable to or worse than before winning, often within just a few years. This isn't a rare cautionary tale. It's a documented, recurring pattern with identifiable mechanisms behind it, consistent enough across independent studies that researchers have built an entire subfield around understanding exactly why it happens. Mechanism 1: the money arrives with no accompanying skill. Winning a lottery teaches you nothing about managing money, no budgeting practice, no experience with investment decisions, no track record of resisting spending impulses at this scale. The sudden wealth research on this is consistent. Financial windfalls received without the accompanying behavioral history of managing money tend to get spent according to the recipient's pre-existing habits, just at a dramatically larger scale. Someone who struggled to save $50 a month before winning doesn't develop new saving discipline the moment the number changes. The habits that existed before the windfall are usually the same habits that determine what happens after it, just operating on a much larger, more damaging scale. This is the specific reason financial literacy programs targeting lottery winners consistently find that education alone, delivered after the win, rarely reverses behavior patterns established over decades before it. Mechanism 2: the social pressure is immediate and relentless. Lottery winners consistently report the same experience: distant relatives, old acquaintances, and strangers reaching out within days, often with a specific ask attached. Saying no to family feels different than declining a stranger's request, and the sheer volume of asks, sometimes hundreds within the first year, creates a specific kind of decision fatigue that erodes even a winner's initial intention to be careful. Many winners describe giving away or lending substantial sums specifically to avoid the discomfort of saying no repeatedly, a behavioral pattern researchers have documented extensively. The money doesn't disappear through one bad decision. It erodes through dozens of smaller ones, each individually understandable, collectively catastrophic. Some winners report the volume of requests becoming so overwhelming that they change phone numbers, move, or cut off contact with extended family entirely. Social costs that rarely show up in a simple financial accounting of what went wrong. Mechanism 3: lifestyle inflation happens instantly, not gradually. Normal wealth accumulation happens slowly enough that lifestyle typically adjusts in proportion: a raise here, a bigger purchase there, spread across years. Lottery winnings compress this entire process into a single day, and the psychological adjustment to a genuinely appropriate new lifestyle simply can't happen at the same speed the money arrived. The house, the cars, the vacations arrive immediately, calibrated to the excitement of the moment rather than to a sustainable long-term budget. And once a lifestyle is established at a certain level, psychologically walking it back downward is far harder than never having established it in the first place. Behavioral economists describe this as a specific asymmetry. People adapt to lifestyle increases quickly and comfortably, while lifestyle decreases feel disproportionately painful even when the resulting standard of living remains objectively comfortable. Mechanism 4: the money isn't invested, it's spent. Financial research on lottery winners consistently shows a strong bias toward immediate consumption over investment. Winners disproportionately spend on depreciating assets, cars, vacations, consumer goods, rather than appreciating one's index funds, real estate, businesses. A $4.2 million check, spent primarily on depreciating purchases and never meaningfully invested, doesn't generate the ongoing returns that could have sustained the wealth long-term. It simply gets consumed. This mechanism compounds with the others in a specific way. Money spent on a depreciating asset is not just gone from the balance, it's actively losing additional value every year afterward, unlike money that was simply spent on an experience and then finished depreciating immediately. A fleet of vehicles purchased in year 1 continues eroding net worth in years 2, 3, and 4, long after the initial purchase excitement has faded. Mechanism 5. There's no professional structure forcing discipline. People who build wealth gradually through a career or business often have structural forces imposing some discipline. A salary that requires budgeting, a business that requires reinvestment, colleagues who model certain financial behaviors. Lottery winners typically have none of this. The money arrives with no attached advisor, no forced structure, no professional relationship requiring accountability, unless the winner deliberately seeks one out, which many in the initial excitement don't. The specific irony here is that the people most in need of professional financial guidance, those handling a sum vastly larger than anything in their prior experience, are often the least equipped to evaluate which advisors are trustworthy, making them frequent targets for predatory financial advisors and investment schemes specifically designed to exploit sudden, inexperienced wealth. Mechanism 6. The psychological identity shift is genuinely destabilizing. Research on sudden wealth recipients describes a specific phenomenon sometimes called sudden wealth syndrome, a real documented disorientation where a person's sense of identity, relationships, and daily purpose get destabilized by an abrupt change in financial status. Work that used to provide structure and meaning disappears the moment someone quits a job impulsively. Relationships shift in ways that feel confusing and sometimes isolating. The psychological adjustment required is significant, and most winners have no preparation or support for managing it. Some winners describe a specific disorienting grief for the life they had before, even while objectively richer, the loss of a predictable daily structure, a professional identity, and relationships that felt uncomplicated before money entered every interaction. This grief is rarely discussed publicly, since expressing dissatisfaction after winning millions is socially difficult, but researchers who conduct anonymous interviews with winners find it's a remarkably common, if unspoken, experience. Why this differs so dramatically from wealth built gradually? Every mechanism described here shares one underlying cause. Gradual wealth building naturally builds the exact skills, habits, and structures that protect wealth over time, as a side effect of the slow accumulation process itself. Sudden wealth skips that entire developmental process, arriving instead as a large number attached to none of the accompanying behavioral infrastructure that normally comes with it. This is why financial advisors who specialize in sudden wealth almost universally recommend the same first step. Do nothing significant for the first 6 months to a year beyond securing the money safely, specifically to avoid the compressed lifestyle inflation and impulsive spending that mechanisms 3 and 4 describe. This waiting period isn't caution for its own sake. It's specifically designed to let the initial emotional intensity settle before major, difficult-to-reverse decisions get made. What the winners who keep their wealth actually do differently. Documented cases of lottery winners who successfully preserve and grow their winnings share specific, consistent patterns. Hiring a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor before making major purchases, maintaining most existing relationships and lifestyle initially rather than dramatic immediate change, setting firm, communicated boundaries around requests for money, and treating a portion of the winnings as genuinely invested capital rather than spendable cash. Several documented successful winners also report deliberately keeping the win private or minimally publicized where legally possible, specifically to avoid triggering mechanism 2, the relentless social pressure that erodes even well-intentioned financial discipline. Where anonymity isn't legally available, some winners report proactively communicating clear, consistent boundaries early, rather than handling each request reactively as it arrives, which appears to reduce the cumulative decision fatigue that drives much of the unplanned spending. None of these behaviors are complicated or require special financial sophistication. They require the specific discipline to slow down during the exact moment when every psychological and social pressure pushes towards speed. This pattern isn't unique to lottery winnings. The same 6 mechanisms, researchers note, appear in other forms of sudden wealth: inheritance, major legal settlements, professional athletes receiving large signing bonuses, and startup employees receiving significant equity payouts after an acquisition. The lottery is simply the most studied and most publicly visible version of a broader phenomenon. Sudden, large financial windfalls received without the accompanying gradual development of money management behavior tend to produce worse long-term outcomes than smaller amounts of wealth built slowly, even though the sudden version starts with dramatically more capital. This is a specific, counterintuitive finding worth sitting with. The amount of money someone starts with predicts the outcome far less reliably than the speed and manner in which it arrived. This reflects documented patterns in sudden wealth research, not a claim about any specific individual's outcome. Outcomes vary significantly based on the amount won, existing financial literacy, family and social circumstances, and the specific decisions made in the immediate aftermath. If you or someone you know experiences a sudden financial windfall, consulting a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor before making major decisions is widely recommended by researchers who study this exact phenomenon. Somewhere right now, someone is buying a lottery ticket, imagining what the number would fix if it came in. The number was never actually the mechanism that determines the outcome. What happens in the first 6 months after it arrives is